Arizona great again. Thank you, Arizona. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
In the far distant land of common sense, a place where we all once lived, you'll find the Conservative College with Professor Toto. It is here where the foundational principles of our great republic are still taught and true patriots are still educated in the hallowed halls of this school of hope. Just like the iconic puppy from The Wizard of Oz, who found great joy in pulling back the curtain on the lies of the wizard, so does Professor Toto. Grab your seats and welcome to the Conservative College. Class begins now.
From coast to coast and shore to shore, you have to worry no more because you are now sitting on your beanbag in the Conservative College, the safest place on earth for people like you. Yes, those kind of people. Deplorables and whatever else. Hello and good evening all across the fruited plains of the greatest nation in the history of the known world. I am your humble, neighborhood, friendly, fluffy professor, Professor Toto. And what I've got to say to you today, one big cheers and happy Trump Thursday. Ha ha! Happy Trump Thursday. It's 8 o'clock Central on the beautiful Gulf Coast of Mississippi between mystical New Orleans and gambling Biloxi, Mississippi. Wow, what an evening. I don't even know where to start tonight. It has been one of those days. Such a great day. 3 wins in one day. 3 wins in one day. Number one, in the state of Nevada, Donald Trump has clobbered Tricky Nikki Hibachi Haley. Nevada, all the delegates go to Donald Trump. Number two, we ran or won in the court of law. Oh, I can't wait to tell you about it. And we also won in the court of public opinion, which may be more important than even the court of law. What a great, great day it has been for our republic. A great win for Donald Trump and Maga in every department. It's almost as if you can feel the steam rising on the Trump train as it begins to come. It's almost top the hill now. It struggled up to the top of the hill, but you can just feel it start to just come on down the mountain and get ready for the 11-month ride into the White House. All right, we got a lot to talk about tonight. A lot of things I want to explain to you. A lot of things I want to teach you tonight. Man, it's going to be a great, great evening. I want to start off with, if you'll pardon me, I'm not going to do any shout outs right now because I really want to get to the meat of the matter this evening and have this little nightcap with each one of you. I should have named my show The Nightcap. That's what we should have done, The Nightcap with Toto, because this is how we're going to end our day in great victory and great celebration. But I'd like to start my class tonight by reading a message that I got on Telegram today. And by the way, if you're not in our Telegram group, go join right now and you'll never lose us. Go to join us on Telegram. The link should be in the description box below. And I want to welcome almost 7,000 viewers on Roku. For those of you that don't have our Roku channel, please go download our Roku channel. You can look for First Harvest Ministries and download it today. As a matter of fact, right there, First Harvest Ministries. Thank you all for viewing us over there on Roku. We're inching our way to 2,000 viewers on Rumble tonight. Welcome. Now, everyone, let's get up the algorithm on Rumble. You've got to hit the like, you've got to share, or they will not put me in the top 5 or the top 10. That's on you if you want to help me or not. If you don't, I love you anyway. Good evening. Let's see. Oh, so many people are wanting me to shout out, but I'm going to wait, if you don't mind, until after the class this evening. And if we're good, boys and girls, I may do an afterglow. It just depends on how long tonight's class runs. All right, I want to start here with a letter, a message that I got on my Telegram channel. Got it earlier today. And it was when all the chaos was going on, when court started today in the Supreme Court. This message is from a lady by the name of Ellen Menz Ferris on Telegram. And it says, Professor Toto, I've never missed one class. You are so informative. I've been listening since day one. I was also listening to some of the arguments on the Colorado case at the Supreme Court. And what I heard is everything that you had already taught us. Your class is amazing. So glad I found you. Also, I received my Toto coin today. Well, Ellen, thank you for ordering that Professor Toto coin. I'm so glad you got that pure silver in your mailbox today. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for your business. If you would like to get your very own Toto coin made of pure silver, you can go right there. It is a collectible. There's only so many of them, and then they're all gone, and that will become a collectible. I want to thank you, Ellen, for that comment. Here's why. If you have been a member of Professor Toto's class for the last 3 or 4 years, you are going to be able to testify. Anyone that listened to the Supreme Court arguments today, what are these arguments about? The 14th Amendment, keeping Donald Trump off the ballots. And many states have tried to do it. Many of them have failed, but Colorado succeeded and Maine succeeded. And so finally, it's meandered its way up to the Supreme Court. Before I begin to take it all apart for you tonight, grab your notebooks, be ready to take notes. Before I do, can we jump in Toto's time machine and go back to August the 26th? August the 26th. Now, to do that, we're going to go to everyone's favorite website on the interweb. There's no better website on the interweb than what? FHTV.tv. Now, let's go over there, and we are going to try our best, FHTV, to show you something, because I want to lay the groundwork for how this is all going to play out. So to do that, just go in the search bar and type in the word 14th. Okay, ladies, and there we are live. You can always watch us live on the big screen. What was the title of that class back on August, I believe it was the 26th? Everybody in America was so nervous because the news was convincing you that Donald Trump would be disqualified. And that's all everybody was worried about. I have searched the interweb near and far, and I have found nowhere with any kind of an article or anything before this show that explained to you why that argument of the 14th Amendment was bogus. Look at the title of my class that night. The title was No, No, No. Trump cannot be disqualified from the ballot because of the 14th Amendment. Now scroll down, and because we have such awesome chapters, you can go to any of our videos, and anything you're looking for in that video will tell you a timestamp. So all one has to do is come right here to about the 19-minute and 38 mark. And you're going to find where I taught you why Donald Trump would never be disqualified. So let's go to the 19. Boom, 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 boom. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I've got to go. I think, is that right? Let's see. There we go. Here's where I'm teaching. Are appointed exclusively pursuant to Article 2, Section 2. It's called the Appointments Clause. It follows that the president, who is an actual elected official, is not an officer of the United States of America. Now, according to Section 3 of Article 14, this ability not to run for office if you've been convicted or if you've committed insurrection only applies to an officer of the United States of America. John Roberts has ruled that that does not apply to the president. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all smoke screens. Please quit living in fear. Boy, that's why I love the conservative college. You'll get truth here. You know, there's a reason that I always say, I told you so. Oh, I told you so. You know why? Because we're living in a world that has a famine. It is a famine of the truth. You can't find the truth on the right. You can't find it on the left. And I believe that God gave me this platform so you could find a place where you could be secure that you're hearing the truth. And you heard it right there in August of 26. You heard August the 26th, you heard the truth. Now, there's something else that you heard here. The reason I'm playing these for you, because we're fixing to go to the Supreme Court, and it's going to sound like an echo of Professor Toto. Now, one more time, let's go to FHTV, and I want to show you another one so that you can know where I'm finding these. Now go to FHTV, and up here in the search bar, type the word Lenity. Ah, there it is. Trump, to be rescued by what rule Help is on the way. See, this is none of those false prophecies that tell you he's coming there. No, everything we've told you, it's leading up to Roar 24. Now let's go read the chapters, the awesome chapters. I love that you can find everything so quickly. So right here, the rule of lenity. You see that rule of lenity? I explained to you in that rule why Donald Trump would win at the Supreme Court. Listen, you can punish unless there's any doubt or ambiguity. It's not clear. Jesus Christ, Yeshua the Messiah, he taught the very same thing. In Luke chapter 12, verse 48, what did he say? He that knoweth to do good and doesn't do it, he'll be punished. But to him that doesn't know to do good and does it, fewer stripes for him. That's the law of ambiguity. You didn't know. All right. Does anybody remember my teaching on the rule of lenity? Does anybody recall it? Any students here awake? You remember the rule of lenity all had to do with ambiguity. These two things you heard first at the conservative college. Now, with all of that said, why did we say it? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm ready to take you now. I'm ready to take you now to hear these very words. And we're going to start with the rule of lenity. And shocking to me is who and what judge actually referred to this rule of lenity. All of the liberals today was behind President Trump on the high court. It blew my mind to see how our arguments were actually given by not only the right, but even the left. So let's go now and let's listen. Listen closely and you'll hear everything you already knew.
Really, Section 3 was about preventing the South from rising again in the context of these sort of local elections, as opposed to focusing on the presidency.
Well, 2 points on that, Justice Jackson. First is that, as I discussed earlier, there isn't the same history of states regulating ballot access at this time. So ballot access rules to restrict presidential candidates wouldn't have existed. They wouldn't have been raised one way or another.
Right, but I'm not making a distinction between ballot access and anything else.
Understood, but the more broad point I want to make is that what is very clear from the history is that the framers were concerned about charismatic rebels who might rise through the ranks up to and including the presidency of the United States.
But then why didn't they put the word president in the very enumerated list in Section 3? The thing that really is troubling to me.
Because the president is not an officer of the United States. That's why.
Is I totally understand your argument, but they were listing people that were barred, and president is not there. And so I guess that just makes me worry that maybe they weren't focusing on the president. And, for example, the fact that electors of vice president and president are there suggests that really what they thought was, if we're worried about the charismatic person, we're going to bar insurrectionist electors, and therefore that person is never going to rise.
This came up in the debates in Congress over Section 3, where Reverdy Johnson said, why haven't you included president and vice president in the language? And Senator Morrill responds, we have. Look at the language, any office under the United States.
Yes, but doesn't that at least suggest ambiguity? And this sort of ties into Justice Kavanaugh.
Does that at least suggest ambiguity? Everybody listen close. Here comes the rule of lenity.
Kavanaugh's point. In other words, we had a person right there at the time saying what I'm saying. The language here doesn't seem to include president. Why is that? And so if there's an ambiguity, why would we construe it to, as Justice Kavanaugh pointed out, against democracy?
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. She just said if there's ambiguity, Why would we rule in favor of the government rather than in favor of President Trump and allowing him to run for president? If there is ambiguity, remember the title of the lesson that night, and it was simply this. It said, Trump will be rescued by what rule? And it was the rule of lenity. And it just blew my mind that a liberal Supreme Court justice on that law. Did anybody just hear the law of lenity? Any students here tonight? Can I see it? Did you hear with your own eyes? I know what I said. I'm not Biden. I remember what I just said. Did you hear it with your own eyes? Come on. He couldn't even remember what day his son passed away on. How sad. But ladies and gentlemen, Eric J. remembers. Thank you, Eric. There it is, Billy Martin, the rule of lenity. If there is any ambiguity, Judy Colson recalls it, and you just heard it from this. Is anybody here in a liberal justice hearing it with their own eyes? It is mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing how this is the rule that's going and has rescued Donald Trump in the Supreme Court. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just truly amazing how that Donald Trump's own enemies showed up today to defend him in a court of law. Listen, this is one of his biggest enemies. And listen to what she says.
Most boldly, I think that the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States. In other words, this question of whether a former president is disqualified for insurrection to be president again is, just say it. It sounds awfully national to me. So whatever means there are to enforce it would suggest that they have to be federal, national means. Why
require the Congress to pull the trigger? Because this is a federal election. It is not a state election. This is the presidency of the United States of America. It is federal. So there again, what we told you would happen in court is exactly what happened. Why did we win in the end? Because eventually you meander your way up to some prevailing consensus. Whereas in Colorado, you have a complete Democratic court. Whereas in Maine, you have all these are Democratic courts. When you get to the top, you at least come to some conservative thinking. And so there you have it. Now, I want y'all to listen as I believe this is going to be Kavanaugh, as he eviscerates, let's see, is that Kavanaugh? No, Clarence Thomas. He is about to eviscerate with one argument and prove even more. I'll tell you what, before I do that, let's go over here to Justice Kavanaugh. Listen to how Kavanaugh basically eats their lunch.
Some of the rhetoric of your position, I don't think it is your position, but some of the rhetoric of your position seems to suggest unless the states can do this, no one can prevent insurrectionists from holding federal office. But obviously Congress has enacted statutes, including one still in effect, Section 2383 of Title 18 prohibits insurrection. It's a federal criminal statute. And if you're convicted of that, it says shall be disqualified from holding any office. And so there is a federal statute on the books, but President Trump has not been charged with that. So what are we to make of that?
Two things, Your Honor.
Did you hear, Kavanaugh? You're wanting us to rule on insurrection, and he said Donald Trump has never been charged with insurrection. I mean, that was just grandiose, if I must say so myself, because it's nothing but the truth. Donald Trump has never been charged with causing an insurrection. Why? Because they know they can't prove that. That's why. It's lunacy. Now let's go over and see if we can't listen to Judge Clarence Thomas eat their lunch.
Do you have contemporaneous examples? And by contemporaneous, I mean shortly after the adoption of the 14th Amendment, where the states disqualified national candidates, not its own candidates, but national candidates?
The only example I can think of, Justice Thomas, is the example of Congressman Christie, who was elected in Georgia in, I believe, 1868, and the governor of Georgia refused or declined to certify the results of that election because Mr. Christie was disqualified. But I think it's not surprising that there are few examples because we didn't have ballots in the same way back then. Candidates were either write-in or they were party ballots, so the states didn't run the ballots in the same way, and there wouldn't have been a process for determining before an election whether a candidate was qualified, unlike the processes that we have now that states have created under their Article I and Article II powers to run elections.
But it would seem that particularly after Reconstruction and after the Compromise of 1877 and during the period of Redeemers, that you would have that kind of conflict. There were a plethora of Confederates still around. There were any number of people who would continue to either run for state offices or national offices. So it would seem that would suggest that there would at least be a few examples of national candidates being disqualified.
He said you would think there would at least be one example of a national candidate ever being disqualified using this clause. In other words, son, I'm eating your lunch, go home and try again another day. Now, right after I made the video about the rule of lenity and the one about the 14th Amendment, the next day I was all over the internet on the liberal websites of how that would never happen. Just like when I told you about January the 6th, the next day you were told on Reuters News, I cannot just get an amen up in this church. On Reuters News, they said it would never be decided on January the 6th. And that's exactly where it was decided. We were just told they would never bring the rule of lenity into this case. We were also told whenever I said Trump was not an officer of the United States, they called me every name in the book. They had never heard of that. What do you mean he's not an officer? Let me explain why he's not an officer of the United States of America. Because an officer makes an oath to support the Constitution of the United States of America. What does that mean? That means the president has a total different oath. His oath is not to support the Constitution. His oath is higher. His oath is more detrimental. His oath is to protect and defend, not support. Support is a minor role. You ever heard of your support staff? The president is not the support staff. The president is the head of the staff. He is not an officer of the United States of America. He is the titular head of the United States of America. He is the head of the government. In other words, within his person is titular status to where he is not the support staff. He's not an officer because it is he that chooses officers. It is he that commissions officers of these United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we won today in the court of law, and it is so thrilling to know that the truth is coming out and that some kind of sense is prevailing. Now, before I go to the next place where we won today, the court of public opinion, I want to tell you about this Democrat lawyer today in the Supreme Court, and it was hilarious. His name was Shannon Stevenson, maybe it's her name. It's the Colorado Solicitor General. And let me just read to you, if I can, some of the back and forth with Justice Alito. At the very end of the oral arguments in the Colorado case, determining whether the state has the right to remove Donald Trump, Samuel Alito asked the following question: what's going to happen if other states retaliate by removing Joe Biden from their ballots, as many of them have already promised to do? Well, this Democrat judge or attorney was not prepared to answer that question. Here was her or his answer, or their answer, whoever knows anymore. Your Honor, I think we have to have faith in our system. Anyway, in our system, that the people will follow their processes appropriately, that they will take a realistic view of what insurrection is under the 14th Amendment. And then she said, but I don't think that this court should take those threats too seriously in its resolution of this case. In other words, Your Honor, it's only us Democrats that fight dirty. I don't think you have to worry about the Republicans coming to our level and doing the same thing. They seem to have a moral compass about them. And I don't think y'all have to worry about that. Well, Alito challenged her. And he said, well, what about Florida, Arizona, Georgia? And she said, well, we have processes. Don't worry about it. We should proceed on the assumption, and here's what Alito said, we should just proceed on the assumption that it's not a serious threat. In other words, only Democrats are this dirty. We should all feel secure in knowing that the Republicans don't have the backbone to fulfill that promise of taking Biden off their ballot. And Stevenson replied, there are institutions in place. Yeah, about like the DOJ and the FBI. No, thank you. That would handle these matters. And he said, what institutions, ma'am? And she said, well, our states, their own election rules. You mean the ones like no mail-in ballots past a certain date? You mean the ones with having a full address on the envelope? You mean the ones where you can only do a mail-in ballot if you're indefinite? Those rules are what we're to depend on? Got it. I got it. Yes, I saw it with my own ears. Yes, indeed. She said the administrators will enforce those rules. She said that the voters would have to rely on the courts. So, in essence, to believe this entire case by the Democrats is an effort to safeguard democracy rather than to rig an election is to trust the Republicans would never dare try to do the same thing. If they do, we'll call it an insurrection. If they ever try it, then we will shut them down, Your Honor. In fairness, a lot of Republicans, they think, are naive morons who time and time again respond to Democrats politically, just kicking their teeth, saying, if we do anything back, then we're no better than them. That's what Stephen is telling Justice Alito. The Republicans are not going to do anything because they're a little bit more moral than we are. We know in the past. They're not fixing to do that, Your Honor. You can trust the Republicans. You can trust the Republicans. Ladies and gentlemen, we clobbered today in the Supreme Court. I've told you from the beginning, this is Trump's court. It's the King's Court. In a few weeks, I'm going to teach you about that King's Court. So this is where we are. Notice something they did not allow today. They allowed no talk of an insurrection. None. They literally, anytime the word was brought up or anytime they tried to go there, it was shut down. No talk of an insurrection. And before I go any further, here's why. An insurrection is an organized and a planned overthrow of the United States government, where there is strategic plans in place to overthrow the government. A riot, on the other hand, is disorganized and random. disorganized, and random. This indeed was a political event with rioters. Absolutely. That is not an insurrection, ladies and gentlemen. That's not what an insurrection is at all. I'll be back in 60 seconds to tell you where else we won today. Oh, it's going to be a great, I'm looking so forward to it.
When you spend your money at these mega corporations, where it's going? Are you aware that your hard-earned money is being used to support political corruption, which leads to poor federal leadership, hurting our economy, contributing to the overall detriment of our society? This is heavy stuff to think about, I know, but it's time we fought back. Introducing Professor Toto's The Patriots Buying Club. Here, we are a club that gives you the power to invest in companies that uphold patriotic and conservative values your family can respect. Rather than spending your money with these major corporations, we've partnered with a direct consumer company that offers over 400 high-quality, sustainable, and effective products that can be delivered fast, directly to your front door. So many patriots across America has joined us in this walkaway movement. Now it's your turn. Go to www.buybuywalmart.com to join Professor Toto's The Patriots Buying Club today.
Today was such a win for Donald Trump and for Maga. And it was so bad for Joe Biden that literally Joe Biden had 2 press conferences today. 2. One this morning, and then again at about 7 something this evening. He literally went again and repeated word for word what he said this morning. What am I talking about? Well, unless you've been living under a rock, I'll explain it real quickly for you. So the independent report came out today from the independent counsel's office, the special counselor's office, and the report was 300 and some odd pages long. All right. Now we're going to read some of that report tonight. You can ask my wife. When I first saw the news in the earlier part of the day, my blood was boiling. Literally, I was running around my house. I just wanted to scream at the hypocrisy and the 2-tier justice system in America. Because the report came out and said that yes, Joe Biden was guilty of the exact same thing that Donald Trump was guilty of. Joe Biden knew that he had classified documents, and even worse, he had them scattered in a home not nearly as secure as Mar-a-Lago, in garage and just scattered everywhere. And even worse, he shared them with his book writer. He shared classified information with his book writer. Well, that was great news. That was good news, right? He was found guilty by a special prosecutor. He was found to have done the exact same thing that Donald Trump did. Great news. Blanc, blanc, blanc. But even though he's guilty of the exact same thing, we're not going to charge him, which, by the way, was a foregone conclusion. Why? You can't prosecute a sitting president, and thank God you can't. However, if any of my Republicans are listening to me in Congress, it's very impeachable. The only problem with that, then you get Kamala Harris. So, leave the old man in there, I reckon. But they declined to prosecute because, and this was like, they couldn't have written this any better for Donald Trump, literally handed it to him. And they said he's not being charged because he's an elderly man with a poor memory, but he's got our nuclear codes. How comforting, right? We're not going to charge him because he's elderly and his memory is failing. Special Counsel Robert Hur unsealed his report to the Department of Justice, concluding no criminal charges are warranted in this matter, despite records found related to foreign policy in Afghanistan, handwritten notes with sensitive intelligence. They still declined to press charges because Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview with him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory. I want to quote you what is said in the report. Based on our direct interactions with and observations of President Biden, he is someone for whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt. In other words, he comes across, he's not strong like Trump. He's not as much of a man as Donald Trump. He doesn't, he's weak looking. He looks weak. And a jury's just not going to want to put him away at that age. They're not, bless his heart and everything and what have you and what not. Bless his little old heart. They wrote in this nearly 400-page report, it would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him by then a former president well into his 80s of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. Oh, wow. Did you hear that? A jury would know that he's lost his mind. He don't even know the difference in right and wrong. He said, by the time we get this old man on a witness stand, not that we shouldn't, but by the time that we do, they will know he didn't even have the mind to know that he had classified documents. Boy. I mean to tell you something, honey. We live in perilous times. I've never in my life ever heard anything of like that. Ever. Let's go compare. Y'all want to compare? Let's compare. Here's some photos from Biden's house with government sensitive classified documents. Here they are. Right there. All right. Look, it's not even hiding. It's not even in a secure location. Look, it looks to me like a junk room. Let's look at the next one. There they are. Boxes torn open. One sitting over there in a grease pile. There they are right there. Exact same pictures that we saw from Donald Trump's place. The only difference is his place is literally a fortress with cameras everywhere. Security team 24/7 around the whole property. Now, so anyway, that's the graphics. Now, you cannot prosecute a sitting president, and I'm in full agreement with that. I'm fair. You can't prosecute Joe Biden while he's president. And thank God you can't. No one could be president if they could be prosecuted while they were president. However, he could be impeached because here you have a prosecutor's report saying he's committed a high crime and a misdemeanor. However, what about when he leaves office? Then you can prosecute him. So all we need is one Republican prosecutor to do the same thing that they're doing. But see, we won't never do that because we're not like them. Sometimes you got to get like them to have justice in this nation. See, we hate injustice. When I saw today what happened with Biden, that feeling of injustice got in my gut. I literally felt sick to my stomach. I was watching injustice. The terms were the same. Everything was the same. The pictures were the same. And the report says he's guilty. It's all the same. But one man gets to spend $50 million defending himself and losing his wealth, while another man gets off scot-free. And even the Democrats know what this is. Did y'all see those commentators today on the news? They look like deer in headlights. They knew they could not spin this. They knew they could not spin this. I want to say to them right now and all over this nation and the world, drop the charges on Donald Trump or face we the people. We hate injustice. God hates injustice. One thing Americans do not like, unfairness. Make it fair and make it square, or make it get out of there. Drop these charges of classified documents. The only way that you're going to get we the people to get off of this is if you drop those charges on Donald Trump. I didn't say you had to drop all of them, but you got to drop the classified document ones. You got to do it now. That's Judge Chutkan up there. Chutkan. I mean, folks, they said that Joe Biden, and by no means do I disparage the loss of his son. I'm a human. I would never, ever, ever do that. But I know if I were to lose a son, I could tell you the minute he died, the day he died, where he died, and everything about that. I could tell you. That's a human natural tendency. In this report, Biden could not even tell when his son died. Don't tell me he didn't forget that. He did. That's things you don't forget. Now, tonight, he had a little show that he did on TV where he come in to act tough like he was all, how dare them. And then when he was trying to make his point, go back and watch it. Nobody caught it, but I did. He said, every day I wear this bracelet on my hand that my son gave me from Our Lady of, and then he did like this. He couldn't remember the name of the church where the crucifix came from. Our Lady of, and then he did like that. He forgot even the church that the thing come from. He couldn't even talk about the Afghanistan debate that was so important to him. He's totally confused. Now, let me show you how the news is trying to spin the difference in Biden and Trump. Now, earlier today, they've had a little time to create a spin tank on this. Earlier this morning, they was all like, yeah, don't look good. As we progressed about 4 or 5 this evening, they started coagulating a difference. What is the difference? We need a difference. And so they finally said there's a big difference. The difference is Trump did not cooperate and be good little boy. Him not be good boy like Boo-Boo Biden. Boo-Boo Biden be good boy, but Trump be bad boy. He not bow down to DOJ. Him be not obey and be good boy. That's the difference. That's the difference, they say. Let me set them straight and everybody that falls for that lie. The reason Joe Biden was good boy, the reason he cooperated was because he did not have something that Donald Trump has. Yeah, Joe Biden was never the president. He never had the authority to have those classified documents. And even worse, he never had the Presidential Records Act to lean on in a court of law if he had to. Donald Trump, it would be like, here's what it would be like. All right? It would be like this golden apple. Wake up. And the police come to my door. No, let's don't say the police, because they have the power of confiscation. Okay. So they could take it. That's not a good example. Let's say that an investigative committee came to my house. Let's say it was my church board, and someone in the church told them that I stole this apple from the church. Okay? I stole the apple from the church. Well, I know that I bought the apple that was at the church, and I know that as the pastor, I have the authority to take the apple and bring it to my house. I know that. So they come and say, now, Pastor Vaughn, we're going to go easy on you if you give us that apple back. I'm going to look at them and say, have a good day and get out of my house, you bunch of dumb idiots. That's exactly what I would tell them. You know why? Because I know my authority. And I know my decision-making power. I know it. I get it from the Word of God. And I can go to that Word, and anybody that wants to be stupid, look, stupid is or stupid does. You act like a monkey, you get treated like a monkey. You come in my house and tell me I got to give you an apple back. I'm the pastor. I bought the apple. And you won't come, you get out of my house. And don't even come back to my church. Now, Donald Trump is the only one of the two that had the authority to have those documents. The Presidential Records Act tells him that he can take those to a secure location. And then they will negotiate after his presidency. They will negotiate which ones need to come back to the federal government, which ones stay with him. But you see, since those documents contained within them the evidence against people in government, they're desperate to get it back. Go watch my class. We know what's in the documents. Trump wasn't about to let go of those documents. Why? Because he knew he had the authority to have them. He didn't have to be goodbye. He didn't have to be goodbye. Why? He had the authority to have them. Biden never did. Of course, Biden better pony them up. He don't have the Presidential Records Act to rely on like Trump did. And here's what happens at the end of the day. If they decide at the church that I can't have this apple, you know what? I'm going to hold that apple even tighter than I had it before, and I'm going to meet you in court. And when we go to court, you know what? I'm going to pull out the receipt where I bought the lowdown apple and let you sit there and look like the biggest fool in the world, because the truth will set you free. And all Donald Trump's waiting for is to get to court. And so all these classified documents can be revealed to the world in the process of discovery, and the truth be known what happened during his presidency. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference. That is the difference. And thank you very much. I'll keep my apple just like he kept his documents. Boy, these people drive me insane, I'm going to tell you. All right. So we won in the court of law, we won in Nevada, and we won in the court of public opinion today. Congratulations, Maga. We won. We won. We won. Well, let's talk about my good buddy. By the way, let me go ahead and tell you this so you can put it in your notes. There will be no class February the 15th. I don't think there will be. I will be in Mar-a-Lago. Yes, I will. On the 16th, we're slated to be at Mar-a-Lago, but I'll probably be flying or traveling on the 15th. There's a remote possibility I'll be in a hotel room by then, and I'll try to go live, but just don't depend on me on the 15th, which is a Thursday night. Okay? While we're here on the 17th of February, all of my friends, I'm asking you for a special favor, those that live in and around Pennsylvania. I want you to come and hear me preach on the kingdom of God. I'm going to be teaching, not preaching. It'll be a seminar. And all my good Baptist friends, y'all can come. I'm not going to be spitting and snotting and snorting. I'm going to be real reserved, and I'm going to be in my instructor, professor mode. But we'll be teaching on the kingdom of God, and I want you to come to Chambersburg, Pennsylvania at 12 o'clock on Saturday. That's the Sabbath day. And let me preach to you. I would love to meet you and hug your neck. If you live in Washington, anywhere around there, go ahead and make the short drive over to Chambersburg, 2500 New Franklin Road. All right? All right. Thank you very much. I'll see you there then. It is settled, right? Okay, good. Let's see. And then February the 10th, in 2 days, Pensacola, Florida. For those that are wanting to protect your money, and God knows you need to, get there, 630 North Navy Boulevard at Sonny's Barbecue. We will meet you there. First of all, I want to talk about my good friend, Tucker Carlson. That's what I want to talk about next. And I'm going to talk about Tucker. You know what? Before I do that, no, I'm not. Hold tight. I forgot to show you some of these things about the evidence. Here is the report, and what I want you to notice is on line 1. I think this is it right here. There we go. Line 1, there is evidence that when Mr. Biden left office, he willfully retained his classified notebooks. He kept classified information and knew he was not allowed to do so. There is also evidence that Mr. Biden willfully disclosed classified information to his ghostwriter by reading it aloud to them. Ladies and gentlemen, there is the evidence that the first 32 charges against Donald Trump are what? What's the first 32 charges? That he willfully retained classified documents. Drop those 32 charges today. If not, you're going to face we the people. I'm just telling you, it is what it is. Mr. Biden appeared to explain that a notebook related to a long meeting on the Security Council was classified. During the 17th recorded conversation, Mr. Biden read aloud portions of the notebook entry that contained classified information. Mr. Biden turned to the same notebook entry and read additional portions aloud verbatim. This evidence shows that Mr. Biden disclosed classified information that he was not authorized to receive. Can y'all imagine if Trump would have put this in a book he was writing? At some point of learning of the council's appointment, Mr. Biden's ghostwriter deleted digital audio recordings of his conversations with Mr. Biden during the writing of the book, Promise Me, Dad. And the recordings had significant evidentiary value. I'm sorry, isn't that called destroying evidence? That, guys, could you, oh man. Hammer, can you imagine if Trump, Mr. Biden explained that when he described material in his notebooks as classified, that he forgot what classified really meant. Folks, you cannot make this stuff up. Do not miss my closing tonight. I'm going to talk to you about something so very important. All right. Tucker Carlson, my good friend, my good buddy, over old Tucker. Boy, he has stirred him up, hasn't he? I'll be right back to talk about Tucker.
The volatility of the U.S. dollar is a harsh reality. We've seen the stock market come across ramped losses, even over the past 20 years. There's a need for an alternate financial strategy. How about gold or silver? Welcome to God's Money. With the PSI security platform, you can build your wealth and secure your future with precious metals that withstand the test of time. Gold and silver are the secrets the wealthy have used to accumulate and protect their wealth for decades. God's Money works with a team of world-class experts to deliver rare, high-quality, unique precious metals at impressive prices. Don't have the money to invest in silver and gold? No problem. Join our Coin of the Month program. With this amazing program, we will send you a little silver on a monthly basis. Consider this opportunity before it's too late. Act now. Go to www.godsmoney.info.
Tucker Carlson interviewing Russian President Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin. Many outlets all across the mainstream have begged Vladimir Putin for an interview. They've all begged. They're all judging right now, and every one of them begging like little pigs. They all wanted to interview Putin. But Tucker is a traitor, according to them, for doing what they couldn't do. That's it, folks. That's it. That's where it boils down to. Tucker is a traitor for doing what they wanted to do. I mean, come on, that's called liberalism. It really is a mental disorder. However, it's backfiring. That's all they talked about. And guess what that did? That drove the numbers over to watch the interview. Boy, I tell you, your enemies sometimes are so dumb, they don't realize they are promoting you. Also, Ronna McDaniel is gone. Donald Trump rules the Republican Party, and he's about to replace her with Michael Whatley. Michael Whatley is to be the new Republican chairman. Yes, he's MAGA. Yes, he believes the election was stolen. Yes, he's Trump all the way. So in other words, Trump has just done a coup d'etat of the Republican Party. Trump just took the MAGA party that we all are and emaciated us into the total leadership of one head of the uniparty. Isn't that interesting? By the way, announced moments ago, Mayorkas, they're going back to impeach him again. So that's probably going to happen. All right, tonight, before I say good night to you, first of all, thank you for being part of my audience. A lot of podcasters take you for granted. A lot of podcasters get so big that they forget who you are. That's never us. You are my world. You are the people that I wake up every day to serve you, to keep you calm in the chaos, to give you information more than hopium. I've always striven to do that. I pray to God I've been successful. Tonight, I wanted to really talk to you about the border bill. I tried to do it Tuesday night, ran out of time, and I'm out of time again tonight. So I will not be able to go into the intricacies of the border bill. But I do want to show you the latest commercial from President Trump about the border and Joe Biden. And then I want to come back and show you something very interesting. You don't want to miss this. Everybody out there that loves to see the perfection of God, you need to wait and don't leave me, because it's very important what I'm about to show you. Very, very, very important.
With executive authority, or is there more you could do absent legislation?
Not all I can do. Just give me the power. Not all I can do. Just give me the power. Not all I can do. Just give me the power. Not all I can do. Just give me the power. Not all I can do. Just give me the power. Not all I can do. Just give me the power.
I'm so sorry. That's not the commercial I wanted to show you. I can't find it now. But it was an amazing commercial where President Trump is pointing out Biden's failures on the border. The border, education, and immigration. Well, the border is immigration. These subjects are going to deliver the White House and the economy to Donald Trump. But I want to show you something. Many of you have heard me talk about how all of our church is going to watch the full eclipse August the 8th. And we're going to Texarkana, Arkansas. However, where this battle is brewing on the border is in a place called Eagle Pass, Texas. Just so happens that this full eclipse will enter the United States of America at Eagle Pass, Texas. Now, I want to go over a few things because something is going to happen. The Bible says in Matthew 12:39 that an evil and adulterous generation looks for a sign, and there shall no sign be given to that evil generation except for one sign. It will be the sign of the prophet Jonah. We're told by Yeshua, Jesus, that in that most evil generation, that they would be spoken to by a sign of Jonah. Now, Yahweh created the heavens, which is where the stars dwell, the Shamayim in the Hebrew. It's where the stars, the sun, the moon, these heavenly bodies have always given signs of important events. We know that Yeshua, when he was born, Yahweh used the constellations to give the sign of his birth. The wise men said, we know he's born because we saw his sign in the constellations, the sign of Virgo or Virgin. So they understood that Yahweh speaks to us through signs. Now, Jonah went to a city, and his ministry was in a city called Nineveh. That was the only place where God used him as a prophet to warn the nation, and that was in the city of Nineveh. Now, he preached repentance when he got to Nineveh because Yahweh always warns before he pours out his wrath. And so I want to show you, if I can, Luke 21:25 says, there will be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity. The warning is always repent. All right. Let's show you, if I can, the eclipse that is coming on April the 8th. I want to show you something that is very interesting. I'm going to bring the screen up for you if I can. The first eclipse that came through in 2017, I want you to look at it over here, all right? When that eclipse came in, that eclipse covered 7 cities that had the name Salem. Now, Salem means it's Jerusalem, all right? So that the first one that comes in, if you'll look on the left, August 17, 2017, Salem, 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 Salem. That eclipse went through, I believe they called it the 7 cities of Salem. It was Salem, Indiana, Salem, Illinois, Salem, Texas, Salem, Arkansas, Salem, Ohio, Salem, Pennsylvania, Salem, New York, Salem, Vermont, Salem, Massachusetts, Salem, South Carolina, Salem, Maine, and Salem, Tennessee. You cannot make this stuff up, friends. Now look where they meet. Look at the X over the United States. Do you see where the one from 17 will meet the one from 2024? That X is right over a city called Little Egypt. That's the name of that town. Little Egypt is the name of the town. Now, Little Egypt is where these two will meet. Notice carefully that eclipse passed through 12 cities by the name of Salem, not 7, I'm sorry. 12 cities with the name Salem, Jerusalem. All right? But notice where they are going to go through in 2024. And I believe this is going to be your sign of Jonah. Watch this. Look up there. Can you see that screen? They go through every city in America by the name of Nineveh. Nineveh, Texas. Nineveh, Indiana. Nineveh, Ohio. Nineveh, Pennsylvania. Nineveh, New York. And Nineveh, Nova Scotia. There's the X, 12 cities of Salem and 7 cities of Nineveh. Anyone that understands, and by the way, this cross of peace that you're looking at on the left, it is right in the middle of that X in Cross of Peace, Illinois, right there where it also Little Egypt. These are producing a very interesting sign. 12 Salems, 7 Ninevehs. They're intersecting at Little Egypt. And get this, the time between the 2 eclipses, are you ready? 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks. Now, Nineveh was located in Assyria. Do you know who it was that went to Assyria? It was the lost tribes of Israel. So the first sign of the eclipse is Jerusalem, which is the Jewish people. It intersects with the lost tribes that came from Assyria in a place called Little Egypt. And it goes over the cross of peace. Jonah was sent to preach 40 days before destruction. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this to you tonight. Look up. Look up. The last trump. I wish I had spiritual minded people. The last trump. Look up. Your redemption draws nigh. Good night, America. No afterglow because I stayed way too late tonight. Thank you for watching. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her. Somebody lay hands on it. Through the night with a light from above, from the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America. enough. Good night.